All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Good morning. Welcome to our workshop. My name is Joe Cunningham. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a student at Maryville University. I'm a third year studying business administration and sustainability. This is workshop number 27. Every school can be a green school and every student a change agent. So if you're looking for a different workshop, this is your chance to leave. This is a 1-hour workshop, so we'll conclude at 11:30. Before we begin, I just want to make a note. If you're joining us on Zoom, please keep your mic muted until we might call on you to ask a question. But I'll also be monitoring the chat, and also you can use the Q&A function in Whova to ask any questions, and we'll save that for the end. And I'll be monitoring that so I can help you ask those questions. There will also be a recording of this session available on Whova in the next few days, and that'll be available for 3 months after this workshop ends. So if you have any questions, we're going to save that to the end. But if you're online, I'll help you ask those questions. So as we begin, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Hope Gribble is the Green School Manager at the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council, and Lynn Scott is a Science Teacher and Sustainability Coordinator at Principia School.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. One of our keynote presenters that kicked off the conference mentioned that education is pivotal. And it's really essential to not only equip people with the knowledge that we need to address the climate crisis, but also, the key competencies and skills that are essential for, creative problem solving, systems thinking, working in cross-sector collaborations with individuals who, have different roles and experiences and perspectives to offer. It's also essential to really foster a sense of agency. And K-12 schools are the perfect place to begin. And really, all of these begin in the early childhood setting and move forward. We do recognize that, I don't think that we have too many K-12 students or staff in the room with us today. However, we strongly believe that each of us here have connections to K-12 schools. Whether you have a family member, friend, neighbor, colleague, maybe your organization partners with a K-12 school, we all have capacity to affect change in schools, and we really all have a responsibility to advocate for green schools for our communities. So I do believe there are a number of you from higher ed institutions here. So some of the frameworks that we're going to be sharing will be applicable in your setting, though the examples that we're going to be walking through are really rooted in K-12 schools. So
that's perfect. And I would just add briefly that, whether you're in the nonprofit sector or commercial or industry, like when we talk about in igniting individuals' excitement to affect change, that's not just school. It needs to start in the school level, but that's where it grows and expands. So when we talk about being a green school and affecting change and have students as change agents, it's people as change agents. So hopefully you'll find those connections there that you can take back to whatever organization you're in.
absolutely.
So today, some goals for our session. Just like Hope was saying, we do want to share some frameworks and some tools that you can walk away with, but also that you'll potentially be able to think about what are some possible programs that I could get plugged into in my own community to see yourself and others as change agents, kind of like what we were talking about. We will talk about what is a green school, give some examples of sustainability in action, share some specific tools and programs that might be useful for you. I'm going to share a little bit about the school that I'm at, Principia School, our journey kind of as a case study and to give some examples. And then we do want to make sure there's time for Q&A and a little working session time for you as you feel ignited to affect change in your own way. So we're going to just start out, get a little sense here. Just if you want to raise your hand, is anybody here a student? Awesome. Love that. Teacher? Excellent. School staff? Very cool. Work for a nonprofit. Excellent. Work for a for-profit. Okay. Represent the government sector. Cool. There's going to be some interactive components of today. So we do want you to chat for just a minute, to talk to a neighbor near you and share just for 1 minute, what brought you to this session? Why are you here?
So we'll have 1 minute total. So kind of split that between you and your partner, and we have up here.
Okay, I tend to not think about it.
Getting new ideas.
I'm just gonna walk around. No, you stay there and I'm gonna I don't need any of these. Okay. Okay. Here, let's make sure we turn it off.
Just a few seconds left.
Okay. Hopefully you heard a little bit. We're going to move on. You'll be able to talk to your neighbor again in a little bit.
All right. Yes. Thanks again for sharing. We're again delighted that you're here today. So let's begin by defining sustainability within the school setting. Schools are mission-driven organizations, and in most cases, their missions are inherently aligned with sustainability, which is something that's really important to acknowledge and know that moving forward, whenever you're trying to advance sustainability efforts, the more that you can explicitly connect your efforts with the school's mission and vision, the more lasting power and meaningful and lasting that change can have. So we're going to talk about a few schools briefly today, and no need to read all of the text on this slide, but what we have here are the mission and vision statements from the schools that we'll be looking at. And you can see that highlighted in green across the board, we have verbiage that's really talking about preparing the students for a diverse and changing world, to engage in positively impacting society, to responding to challenges, to have a future focused mindset and with creativity, critical thinking, and character growth. We also have some components that are highlighted in purple here, transformation, inspiration, caring, relationships, positive thinking, and inspiring students, and embracing opportunity. So we just wanted to kind of underscore initially that there is just this very strong connection that schools are really meant for this work. Introduced in 2011 through the U.S. Department of Education Green Ribbon Schools program, these 3 pillars are really becoming the common definition for green schools that's being used as a measurement framework across the globe, really. So reducing environmental impacts and costs, improving health and wellness of students and staff, and providing place-based education, which leads to an increase in sustainability literacy. So these really play a key role in this movement, just providing a common definition and set of goals that schools across the world can really work towards. There are a number of elements, of course, that fall under each of those pillars. And the pillars themselves, as well as the elements and practices underneath, are very interconnected. So working in one area will influence the other. Research out of the Colorado State University that really looked at how can a school set the conditions to really thrive, in this as a green school, through sustainability. They found that schools that were really successful at becoming a green school, where you could just walk into the building and immediately feel this is a green school, they are introducing healthy and green practices throughout these 3 areas. Their campus, so that includes the school facility, the surrounding natural environment, as well as the material flows and resource flows going through the school, the energy, the food, the paper, the water. The curriculum, so connecting people, place and purpose through not only the curriculum that's taking place during the school day, but also extracurricular opportunities. And then the school culture. So the social norms, the policies, just the general feel of the school. We tossed community in there as well. That is not necessarily called out in this framework, but that really goes hand in hand. And we see that green schools are naturally connecting with their communities in so many ways. And that's really a core component as well. So we're going to just briefly look at, now that we have these kind of overall goals, we have a framework, we want to be holistically integrating practices throughout the campus curriculum and culture. We want to just highlight a few examples from the St. Louis area of unique paths towards this whole school sustainability. So every school has their own starting point, and the way that they approach this work might look a little bit different, but all of these schools have achieved that green ribbon school recognition. So they have documented efforts and innovation across all three pillars. Parkway School District is in suburban St. Louis. The district consists of 28 schools with just over 17,000 students. Their minority enrollment is 40%, and 13% of students are economically disadvantaged. Parkway's efforts really began with a group of student advocates back in the 1990s who were advocating for recycling in the district. And the district responded by starting a recycling facility, on their grounds. They hired a resource manager who was really focused on waste and energy conservation, but that role has expanded in a myriad of directions over the years into their land management and purchasing, student engagement. And pictured in the upper right, you can see an activity where elementary teachers came together and they reviewed their existing curriculum through the lens of sustainability. So they went through an extensive process where they developed Parkway's principles of education for sustainability, which align directly with the district's vision and core values. And they went through and looked at how can they illuminate these elements in their existing curriculum. So their story is really one that started with students, really came through the facilities end, and now it's looping back to really engage students through the curriculum. The school district of University City consists of 7 schools and about 2,500 students. Their minority enrollment is 90%, and 70% of students are economically disadvantaged. A national leader in the implementation of whole school, whole community, whole child model, WISC, if you're familiar with that model. This district's sustainability practices are really led by the unflinching belief that student, staff, community, and environmental wellness cannot be achieved without intentional work to recognize and dismantle systems of racial inequity and exclusion. By centering joy and well-being in all district work and integrating social and emotional health into everyday experiences and relationships, the school is, they're offering students everything from wellness lounges to trauma specialists, public art events, to a restorative practices course. The district also offers rich project-based environmental and sustainability education. Every school has a STEAM lab and rain garden. Their district, the facilities department is also racking it out. They have 2 LEED certified buildings, on-site solar, CO2 monitoring. So they're really taking this holistic approach driven by equity. Maplewood Richmond Heights, this school district has 4 buildings and around 1,500 students. Their minority enrollment is 40% and around 23% are economically disadvantaged. Their middle school, the first 2 were really districts. They received a district level award. This is an individual school within the district. And their middle school signature approach is a metaphor of school as expedition, where they take students out of the classroom for 15% of the school year. Starting on school grounds, students study ecological science in the pollinator garden and explore physics through climbing trees. Studies of their watershed start with local wetlands and culminate with a trip to the Gulf Coast. Their landlocked urban campus collects rainwater for the garden and chickens, maintains bees, and composts cafeteria waste. Lastly, Sunrise R9 is a K through 8 district. They have one school building with around 300 students. And their minority enrollment is 10% and 50% of students are economically disadvantaged. They're located in a rural area south of St. Louis, and the school has a really strong agricultural program through which many of their sustainability initiatives have sprouted. In fact, their sustainability teacher's title has changed to sustainability coordinator, and her role continues to expand. So she's doing a lot with facilities and administration now beyond direct instruction. Student engagement and community partnerships have been at the heart of many of their successes and led to some really creative solutions. They've significantly reduced their landfill waste while educating families through programs like Feed the Worms, in which 75% of students bring in their food waste from home and have it vermicomposted on site at the school. And their Feed the Pigs program takes discarded lunchroom waste and feeds it to a group of about a half dozen pigs. You can see them in the upper right from last school year. And the students name the pigs, they watch the pigs grow over the year. And then at the end of the year, these pigs are auctioned off for personal meat consumption to families in their area. Approximately 100 students participate in twice monthly cooking and nutrition classes, which is something that they've identified in the community as very important. It's important everywhere, but absolutely nutrition is an identified need. And university extension instructors co-facilitate these lessons with Sunrise, and then local farmers provide the meat and eggs for the recipes. Their health and wellness committee holds a health fair annually to encourage the community to take advantage of local health related resources and to receive free health screenings. And they provide professional development annually for their teachers to continually expand the use of their 22-acre campus as a learning laboratory. Again, they're working with a variety of partners, the Missouri Department of Conservation, local Beekeepers Association on these efforts. And they're beginning to track their energy use in Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which has been discussed in a lot of sessions that I've been attending at the conference. So really each of these schools has their own unique story. Your school has its own unique story. We really want to just underscore that we're trying to get to whole school sustainability. We want holistic integration, but it really can start anywhere. And ideally, it's starting with this unique school's needs and desires and building up from there. I think.
So we're just going to take a moment in true educational best practice form and make sure that you have some talk time too, because as a teacher, one of the messages is whoever's doing the talking is doing the learning. That's one of those messages, and obviously there's a balance there. But take 2 minutes, and this is called the Compass Points activity, where you can kind of share with your partner something that's new, something you heard that was exciting, something that was surprising, or something that was worrisome. Go ahead.
A lot of these. I guess one some. So, we're talking about sustainable coordination. Like the struggle is,
Yeah.
they don't especially every single maybe every single grade or a certain grades. Like the time resources. Giving us videos for it. I think he knows it's really powerful. The entire world. Because they want to look at it around. Because it's like just so unfair. Just compare it to everyone's books.
It's good. I don't know, actually know how to turn it off. We're going to bring it back. We're hearing some great conversations, and I promise you'll be able to continue in these great world-changing efforts that you're making. So we're going to keep going so you can get some tools, possible programs to guide in these efforts.
Yes, thanks so much for sharing with your partners. Oh, I heard so many comments that I'd love to dig into further. But right now we're going to take a look at some tools and programs that can help guide schools. So the Green Ribbon School Program was mentioned a few times already. That really set the course by establishing these three pillars. This program is available to schools across the nation in states that participate. So it can recognize anywhere from early childhood centers, schools, districts, or post-secondary institutions. However, the State Department of Education is required to be the nominating body, and they are limited to recognizing five nominees per year. Plus, all states may not participate in all categories. For instance, Missouri currently doesn't recognize post-secondary institutions through the program. State departments of education can partner with other state departments or nonprofits to run the program within their state. And in Missouri, the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council and Missouri Environmental Education Association have come together to work with our State Department to run the Green Ribbon School program. And we also collaborate on two additional programs that are separate but complementary. Again, our goal here is to meet every school where they're at, find a pathway that works for them, and lead them along their way towards whole school sustainability. So I'm going to briefly share a little bit about these. I know a lot of you are from outside of Missouri, but hopefully this can just help you to understand some of the core components. We will share some other programs outside of Missouri you might tap into, and you could always replicate these in your state. So we'll start with the Green Schools Quest. This is an annual projects-based challenge, student-driven, okay? Schools sign up, they have a teacher or one adult lead, a group of students, and then they are provided with a community member who serves as their volunteer green mentor. And the team works together to implement a no or low cost sustainability project over 6 months. They document all their efforts and turn in videos and written reports of their impact at the end. We have judging and celebrate really everyone's impact. Over 200 schools in the St. Louis area have participated in the last 10 years, many for multiple years, some for every year. And we are actually looking for judges right now. I will just say, if you're interested in judging, let me know. I think I need 3 more judges. And anyway, it's been an amazing project that's really student driven, from the ground up. Missouri Green Schools is really taking a systems-based approach as opposed to project-based. So here we're trying to establish these conditions necessary for whole school sustainability. It has 4 different levels of recognition, and they are intentionally scaffolded and based upon best practices. So this allows us to provide a state level recognition for schools on all along the continuum. Okay, so Green Ribbon, we only have 5 that are performing at this high level. Now with Missouri Green Schools, we can recognize a school that is a Sprout, a level 1, who has really just made that commitment. It requires a letter of commitment from an administrator, simple self-assessment that is really looking at practices across the campus, curriculum and culture, and goal setting. In level 2, you move up to the requirement of establishing a green team or committee to support this work. Schools are encouraged to engage diverse stakeholders within that team, really continually reinforcing that we don't want this to just be siloed through the education or through the facilities. We need everybody on board working on this together. And I think that's all. Oh, I do want to mention one more thing. So we also have a Show Me Green Schools partner network that we're launching. This would be any nonprofit or for-profit organization that offers a service to help a school advance along one of the 3 pillars. And we are in the process of developing an online resource database so that schools can just more easily connect with services to help them along. If you're not in Missouri, and I want to share one core tool that's embedded into right now the Missouri Green Schools program, but this is accessible across the globe. So START, it stands for the Sustainability Tracking and Roadmap tool. And this tool is really what Missouri Green Schools enrollees are using to track their achievements along the way. It is broken down into 50 different metrics, or a little over 50 metrics that are organized by the educational, programming, organizational, culture, and physical place. They're very easy to navigate. When you open up a metric, there are 3 options that kind of help. They ask a yes or no, simple yes or no question to help the school determine, are they at the beginning or advanced stages of implementing, that particular practice. This tool also has built-in how-to guides and discussion forums so that if a school, is working on their indoor air quality metric, they can pull up the how-to guide and see some simple steps for how they would get started. Or if they're working on outreach campaigns, they can jump into the discussion forum. These 2 particular items are accessible from the Green Schools Alliance website. The START tool is a fee-based tool, but they are willing to work with any schools to make sure that it is accessible. It is also a new tool. Missouri Green Schools is also new. We're finishing up our pilot phase this year. We have about 24 schools enrolled, and half are 60% or greater free and reduced price lunch populations within the school. So if you are in Missouri, plug into one of these programs. Let me know. We'd love for you to connect. If you're outside Missouri, here are some tips for finding similar programs in your state. We do have a resource document that we're going to share in the chat that will have links. It'll have all this information. It'll have links to all of the programs we just discussed so that you can dive further. I highly recommend watching some of the videos from the Green Schools Quest because you can see the students actively sharing about all of the great work that they're doing. And again, that judge opportunity, we especially are looking for judges outside of the Missouri area for that program. So.
Okay, more talk time. What tool or program do you use or did you just hear about that might be applicable or helpful in your own organization? So take 2 minutes. How do you think that could be helpful to be able to move your initiatives forward?
Well, we can just.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on right now. I saw, well, Fortified House in South. great programs that are gonna do here or, you know what I mean? But they're like, well, how do we get this, you know, or, are you sure is this really helping us? And it's not, it's great, but we're such it's not be actually connected. You know, these great programs.
Getting those projects vetted, but they're not all over.
Yeah. I think I need to look more into. Make sure there are funding out here. And I hope it's not, so far out.
I know. I apologize. I try to stop it before with my students too. We got caught up in hearing all the great things that you all are talking about. We're gonna shift slightly. I want to share a little bit more about, I mean, essentially Hope here has been a great mentor for me. And I'm at a school called Principia School. I have participated in the Green Schools Quest with my students for a number of years, also with Missouri Green Schools. And this last year, we were awarded the Green Ribbon School Award. So Hope's been super helpful as a mentor for me and to help the process along. As we know, collaborations and partnerships and having people to work with is important. I'll share a few demographics about my school and then a little bit about an initiative that a friend of mine and I dreamed up on a bus 4 years ago and have implemented. And it's been a really great way to promote students as change agents and really encourage that fire. And I hope you are, so I'll share a little bit about that. So my school is an independent school. We're early childhood through 12th grade. There is a Principia College. If you are local, it is the same institution. So technically you could start as a 3-year-old and go all the way through and graduate senior year, but they are located in 2 different places. So the college is in Illinois, the school is here in St. Louis. So we are small, 410 students total right now. We've got 52% of the high school students, upper school students are boarders. 20% of our students are international. We're coming from 26 states, 15 countries, and we have an 8-to-1 student faculty ratio. So we have an interesting mix of students. And what I love is that with the international space and multiple states in place, you do get multiple perspectives driving conversation. So I was hired as a science teacher. I still am a science teacher. And about 6 years ago, I decided to wear another hat. And I self-appointed myself the sustainability coordinator of the school. And for a couple of years, I was just getting initiatives going with my students, essentially. I came across the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals a number of years ago, about 5 years ago, and I thought, this is how I want people to understand what sustainability is. I want them to understand how multifaceted sustainability is, and I want them to feel that there are multiple access points to engage in sustainability. So the historical perspective is, oh, you're a tree hugger. That's if you're right. And so no, there's a much broader perspective and way to think about sustainability. We understand the intersection of poverty, hunger, good health. We understand how those connect to having a sustainable community. When I'm working with students and I'm working to get their buy-in, I'm showing them this and I'm saying, what are you passionate about? Where do you connect to this? And that's their entry point. It's all of our entry points, right? And so I really appreciate this as a starting point and integrated that as our framework for our school for how we think about sustainability and how we work to integrate it. So, what that looks like in our curriculum as we're looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, my work focuses on increasing student engagement, encouraging students to be change makers, connecting with as many professionals as possible. And I know that this is tricky. I know that it's hard to find time to do these things, but when we do, the authentic, relevant learning that occurs is what pushes students forward to be engaged, right? To be like, oh, this does apply. I do see how this connects in the real world. We're encouraging our students as global thinkers and citizens. And if you look at those goals, there are so many access points and points in which they can connect. The other beautiful thing about the UN Sustainable Development Goals is, I will say, the amount of resources and programs that have been developed around it. There's a lot of support and a lot of things that you can draw on, whether you're an organization or a teacher. So about 4 years ago, a friend and I were on a bus coming back from actually, I think it was a service day. We were doing some gardening work with what used to be Gateway Greening, but is now Seed St. Louis, if you're local. And came up with this idea for what we called the Impact Challenge. And the whole premise was, how do we help students to be change makers? How do we affect change in a more? How do we affect change more in our environment? How do we connect our students and help them see themselves as change agents? And I have a quick little video here that I'll play to just kind of showcase what this is. Essentially, what we did with this project is we turned it into an early childhood through 12th grade challenge where students can select a goal of their choosing that they want to affect change towards, and then they do it. The challenge itself, they do it, and then we come together and we have a celebration where we celebrate how we are affecting change. And really, it's an opportunity to magnify the good. One of the things that we talked about in the last session about communication and the importance of, like, how do we broaden communication and increase people's engagement in this? A good chunk of it is, when we magnify the good, when we celebrate, when we talk about the care, not scare, it encourages people to move the needle, to say, hey, I want in on this movement. So I'll just share a quick video. This is from the 2022 Impact Challenge. The next one that is coming up in 2023, April 21st. If any of you are interested in joining, we'd love to have you. Was a student reading.
What I hope to achieve with the Impact Challenge project is really for students to see themselves as change agents, and for them, starting from a young age all the way up, to begin to see the steps that they can take to really make a difference. And what I love is it can be with any goal, and depending on their interests, their strengths, they can take action in the way that best fits them.
I hope to teach kids about the beauty of this planet, about how they have the power to be stewards of this planet, and they also have a responsibility to take care of this planet and take care of those who have been affected by things like environmental racism.
We would love to invite any school that wants to join. I've been working with some other teachers in the region, and I just think it's such a fantastic way for students to, and all of us really, adults too, to be able to take action. And really it's about the betterment of humanity and our planet. The most important thing, I think, is to really think about what your interests are. Think about where you feel your strengths are and what your passions are, because the last thing you want to do is work on a project that you don't care about. So I think that the point is really, I can't think of any topic that doesn't relate to these goals. So think about what is it that you actually care about and that you want to make change on, and go that route.
My advice is that the youth of the next generation have more power than you think, and you also can take action no matter where you are in your walk of life. There's always an opportunity to make this world a better place.
Who live in poverty.
I think we can pay for the solar panels.
hopefully that gives you a little sense of, hold on, I might have just lost what I was doing. No. Can do, nope.
Oh.
Where did it go? And then, that looks weird. Oh, here, there we go. Okay. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a sense a little bit for what it is. Like I said, the next one is coming up April 21st. And I will say one thing that we've really worked to share with the students are the different ways that you can make an impact. We had some trouble early on where everyone was like, I just want to do a fundraiser. And okay, that's great because people do need funds, but you're also like, can't just bleed the same person dry. Like all the teachers I cannot continue to, pay for all of these same fundraisers. So it's really like broadening our understanding of what does it mean to make an impact and understanding the importance of advocacy and the research that they were doing. And so that's been a nice shift for this year as we've seen more students that have reached out and understood that as they learn more about organizations, they can affect change by raising awareness about an issue. That also doesn't take any money or little money. And that's been a really powerful thing too. Not all of these projects require a lot of funds, and that's helpful, but what it's doing is it's setting students up to recognize the power of their capacity to affect change and to do. So I'll share just a couple examples of projects that people have done, groups have done. And I also want to highlight the interdisciplinary nature of this work and the beauty of the Sustainable Development Goals in aligning to that interdisciplinary nature. So this was a 5th grade class that in their social studies unit was looking at the Underground Railroad, and they were doing a showway quilt, but they were tying that into sustainability and understanding with. They created the Sustainable Development Goals using upcycled materials, acknowledging that these goals help us show the way into the future. So there's a nice overlap there. There's another 5th grade project. This is this year. They're about to present to the Board of Trustees tomorrow, actually. So that's been really neat. They looked around the campus and they were like, look at all these, here's ways that we can improve. And there's a group, we don't have solar panels at our school. We don't have any renewable energy, and they noticed that and they contacted a local provider and said, hey, can you give us some bids? And now they're presenting those bids to they presented it to the head of school. Now they're presenting the Board of Trustees. They've got a lot of initiatives. So that's, again, it's just action affecting change. Middle school has done a similar thing where they picked a goal they wanted to affect change towards, and they were raising awareness. Some were selling stickers. They were doing bake sales. This kind of goes a little bit more into the fundraising side of things. But again, for us, it's acknowledging that we have indirect to direct action and advocacy. So understanding different ways to make an impact. At the high school area, we had a couple seniors see a movie called For Akeem, and their goals were focused on quality education and no poverty. This video itself centers St. Louis. They had Dajae and Jeff come to the school and we had a showing of the movie, and then they facilitated a discussion, which was really powerful. Understanding the story that Dajae had to share, and that intersection of education and poverty and what that means in that bigger understanding of sustainability. So again, raising awareness here. In our fine arts curriculum, they've been using the Sustainable Development Goals, again, raising awareness in the artistic form. So finding these ways that people can lean in the ways that best connect to them. A couple other things, we've just this year started something called Sustainability Spotlights, and they are 1-minute quick videos that the students will share about something that's sustainable on campus. This is actually what we're submitting for our Green Schools Quest project this year. I don't know if you knew that part. That's what we're doing. And it's a raising awareness piece. At the school, do you even know what's going on? Do you know how to affect change in your small corner, let alone being able to branch out? Finally, we do have some gardens on campus, and working to make them people aware and to integrate them within our curriculum has been really powerful. So we're going to take another little moment to chat here. How can, this is your prompt, how can we better engage our youth as change makers? Those of you in our education and our nonprofit spaces, what are things we can be doing to better engage our youth as change makers? Start the timer. Okay. All right, how are we doing on time? 2 minutes for this, we have a little vision. I think we're okay. They're a little tight. Okay. Mhm. Maybe they don't get to the too. Show. But I had, and then I think that means to just because I don't know the president like something I care a lot about or people want to that's like a lot of the times you see everything going into schools and like kids have like or something like that excitement about food. Like, okay, yay, like we're done. But that's not really something that's giving a kid a tomato isn't gonna overcome that. Finding a way to push your Okay, go ahead and wrap up your conversation. It actually hurts me to say because the things that I hear you talking about are so powerful. Yeah. We will have more time for you to come back together, I promise. I want to circle back to where Hope first started, where she started talking about, like, she showed some of the mission statements from schools. This is ours. This is from Principia. This is our vision and action statement. And it still is today, a really important tool that I use to leverage. I leverage this to be able to make action in my own school. So I just will point out a couple things. We say our core values are excellence, character, diversity, and love. Okay, there's a lot that can connect into sustainability there. Great, and I use that. We also say that we are going to be future ready. We want that for our students. Principians strive to be courageous and innovative change makers. Great, we say that we're going to do this. Let's provide the tools and the experiences where the students actually can do that. We also say principles and practices. Our school has committed to sustainability as one of them. Hooray! Does upper admin actually know what that is? No, but that's where we can help to guide that. We can guide the trajectory by leveraging our own vision and action statements, our own mission statements. So back to talk for another couple minutes, and then we'll be into Q&A. But for your own organization, what is its mission vision? Is there something you can do to leverage something that your organization or your school says, this is what we want? Can you leverage that to affect change in your own space? I think that's a lot of conversations, but that's okay. Me too. I know those 2 minutes go fast, so we're going to wrap that up briefly. I do want to make sure that you're aware in our slide deck on Whova, you will see we've put together this document that has a bunch of links. So there's a PDF that has links to the organizations that Hope shared, the programs that Hope shared, the tools, our school, the impact challenge pieces. So there's a lot of resources here. Please utilize them. Is there anything else you want to say on
Everything's in
that?
one spot right there. So just save the document, download it if you'd like, and then you can link to all those and dive into more. Also, our contact information is at the very top of that document, so you're welcome to reach out to either of us at any time with questions.
I put the link to that in the chat of our session. So if you go to Whova, and there should be a chat option, you can check there. I put the link to that document.
Perfect. Good question. So we'll take, oh, go ahead.
You know, if you follow that link, it'll take you to a Google document and you should be able to download that from there. Just go to file download.
So we'll take questions now.
Hi, Hope, I'm Kelly.
Oh my gosh.
Question I have is, I know that these resources are awesome. If you haven't had a chance to look at them, they are very helpful. Challenge I always have is being alone kind of and looking for other people. So are there any organizations or for your organization, are there people that mentor specifically or can partner with employees of a school to help guide or consult with this process and help do some of the legwork?
Well, the Center for Green Schools out of the U.S. Green Building Council does have a fellowship program where they select like 5 fellows each year, but the individuals selected have to work like 50% or more of their time has to be dedicated towards sustainability. So that's one, but not necessarily accessible if you're not in that realm. Not any are coming to mind right now. I'll definitely hold that question. And as thoughts do come to mind, I'll reach out to you in the future. But we do want to work on establishing better connections between the individuals who are the passionate individuals at each school, you know, to at least have that support across schools. And me and Leslie can help as we're available.
I'll add to that. I know that so there's a woman, her name's Renee Iannati. She and I put together last year a group of just kind of looked around who at the different schools is interested in this and started to put together like Zoom call kind of thing. So we're kind of trying to create something like that very organically. So I'd love to connect. But I guess I have found mentorship and support through Hope, through even the Green Schools Quest mentors that you're assigned. That is a helpful resource tool as well. But it's a super valid point. I'll say to do the green ribbon, you have to have a green team, and I highly recommend having a green team. And it's interesting who I have found to be on my green team, and it's often in unexpected places. So I think that relationship building and identifying like who's somebody that like likes to talk about these things with you, and it's not necessarily the teacher right next door, that's fine. But you know, there's an administrative assistant down in the lower school that is like, she is on fire, and you know, it's like you just never know, and those connections can be really valuable.
I wanted to ask you about something that has come up in a lot of rooms I've been in here, which is like bandwidth. Like teachers are so busy. They often have very limited time and energy to carry out some of these projects. And our experience is we operate the Indiana Private School Program, which is sort of like a baby version of a lot of this. You know, it's all teacher led, like the students pass through, and even though there are students who are often playing serious leadership roles, it's really the heart, that one teacher who cares so much. And we've just chosen to just pay them. We give them a no questions asked stipend for their time because we believe that they should be paid for this work, but that still doesn't give them more hours in the day. So we recommend schools hire sustainability coordinators. That's not often in the budget, but how are you working with that? Like, how are you circumventing that? Or are you just hoping for the best? Do you have any ideas for how to make that better?
Yeah, I think this is why it's really essential to lead the whole culture of the school towards sustainability and get multiple people on board, build those teams early on. It's not easy, but it is worth the investment because then the work gets spread out among many. We do host with a number of other institutions, a summer institute called the Sustainability Institute for Educators, where we're really trying to look at another framework called the Rainbow of Sustainability, and looking at existing curriculum and how you can really pull out these principles in your existing curriculum. So it's not like one additional thing. But yeah, building the team is going to be a big one. And it's tough, right? It's typically someone who's really passionate, and those individuals are often passionate about a lot of things.
That's right.
So they're action people, and their plates are overflowing. And
I totally agree with what Hope's saying, and couching that in vision and mission, like get your school on board. I commend you for being able to pay somebody that's able to do a little bit more, but you're absolutely right. Like, I guess for myself in these spaces, I try to do like a 10% rule. Like I have a long list of things that I want to do, and I'm not going to be able to do them all. So what's one that I can pick right now and do? And that, I mean, that's kind of like a coping mechanism that I'm trying for myself. But I do think the team matters, because then it's not just on you. And forming those relationships and that support network, and then just taking little bits of the time those have been the approaches that I've used.
yeah, and I think also any recognition programs you can get engaged in, because that continues to elevate the story. It's shining a light on all the positive things that are happening. It helps other people to become aware of it, and then they find how they can connect in. It really is very broad work. And so there's a wide range of, like individual passions that can tap into this, but it's hard. And a lot of times we're starting with existing staff who are passionate. And sometimes if they're lucky, they get named a sustainability coordinator or receive a size stipend. And unfortunately, sometimes they're not. But it's a trend. It is happening slowly, but surely. I think we've got time for one more.
One or two questions. What about your tracking system? Have you doing that? So from the school, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but how is advancing maybe into career opportunities?
Hmm.
And also, I'm wondering how you extend it into schools, to bring families, to bring communities.
Ooh. Such good questions. I'll take the first one on tracking. So, you know, all of those pillars that Hope showed, I feel like our school has done a good job in the curriculum realm and not a great job in the building and facilities realm. And with that, that's why the tracking has been so powerful, because I've been able to document what we're not doing and showcase that to our head of school, et cetera, to say, look what we're doing really well and let's celebrate that. And then let's also see, oh, wow, we actually aren't tracking like Energy Star portfolio. I've got a bunch of stuff and that I've put in there, but I don't actually have long-term data that we can be making decisions off of. So in terms of like what that looks like for like our forward momentum, the tracking is such a key first step. And my school is truly, I would say, at the infancy of the tracking piece, but it's so critical. So I don't know how to answer like, where is it going to take us? But it's definitely that foundational critical piece to be able to make decisions off data.
One place I would like to participate is representation in other spaces.
100%, absolutely. I forgot your second question. I'm sorry. Oh, green schools and families. Yeah, such a good point. I hadn't really thought about it that way, except for the fact that every time anything we do in the school, we know the kids are talking about, especially when there's that engagement and that authenticity and the relevance. They're bringing it home because they're talking about it and they're excited about it. And so, but I agree, having something formalized would be really powerful.
Yeah, a lot of those initiatives do spill out. And then, I see a lot of community events schools might host, and, the health and wellness is a key part of sustainability. And so that can often be, a lot of schools will have health and wellness fairs to connect with their families, and really then making sure that there are representatives there who can talk about the connection between environmental and human health. Just kind of building that up and out can be helpful. As well.
I think, do we have?
I know that's not your that I see like a path forward in campus and curriculum, but not in culture and community, because it seems like undergraduate universities as a splintered community, and it's very hard to cultivate a cohesive culture. So
One thing that I'm in an interesting situation in that, like, the institution is across two different campuses. So there is the college side and then the school. And one thing that we've been talking about and trying to start is kind of that like you could do it in between majors or in between buildings. If you're going to have like some kind of competition that like brings people together, and you can have something that's identifying, oh, what building, what department, wastes the least, or what department. So like having something that does pull a more disparate community together can be a really powerful way to build that community and encourage the culture that you're looking for.
And I think also career pathways, just trying to think about anytime you have professionals coming in or speakers, if there's a way to influence who those speakers are, or just make suggestions that they have that sustainability lens. And ASHE STARS is also going to be a great tool for higher ed institutions that are wanting to track and advance sustainability initiatives. And this has been such a pleasure. Thank you all for being here today, and your amazing questions and work that you're doing. Keep in touch.
you're supposed to do a question.
Yeah, just
Okay, sorry.
a couple closing notes. This recording will be available in the next few days on Whova for 3 months. So if you want to come back and look at this, that'd be great. And also the closing panel begins at 11:45. So that's in about 10 minutes or so. And that's in the Emerson Center or the auditorium. So if you want to head over there, that'd be great. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.